Okay, so I'll admit that I haven't seen that many sports animes. So when I hear about them, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to get into. Obviously, there's going to be sports, but what else is there going to be with it? So when I heard there was a show about ping pong, I expected a show about ping pong. And of course, I got ping pong, but a lot more on top of that. And to be honest, I was surprised with what I got. I expected it to be a pretty boring show about table tennis and ended up getting what I would argue is one of the best animes from its season. Okay, so let's get the obnoxious crap out of the way. Don't just turn this show down because, ugh, the art looks weird. Oh, it's gross looking. Oh, I don't fucking care. I'll go ahead and make that remark first. The art style for this show is very different, and in a way it's very abstract. Looking away from that and looking how it may not look, like your top of the notch digitized art, it looks a lot more like your traditional hand-drawn art. It's very, very nice for what it gives you. Very fluid animation with a unique and abstract art style and some amazing scene direction on top of it. Makes it a really interesting visual experience, or at least it was for me personally. Now moving on to the actual anime itself, because the anime is not exclusively the pictures you see, it's everything that comes together on top of these moving pictures. Ping Pong the animation tells us a story about different high schools playing ping pong at a very high level, with various players, with the emphasis being on our two main protagonists of the show, Smile and Peko, both of which are relatively good ping pong players. Of course, they're also best friends and complete opposites. Peko is a very energetic individual who really, really wants to get good at ping pong. That is his goal in life. Smile, on the other hand, is unnaturally good and better than most people, but he doesn't ever put the effort and has the most bland type B personality you will ever see in anybody. And it's their two differences that help make the chemistry between the two and their development throughout the show really interesting. The story focuses on them and the other players, which I'll mention later on, and their journey through ping pong. And the thing that's interesting is, though ping pong is the basis, the show doesn't feel like it's really about ping pong. To me, personally, I see it more as a show about exploring personal reason, desire, and just your general reasons for doing anything, which seems really odd to convey in this kind of sport, but honestly it does a phenomenal job through the use of great art direction, character development. The other characters are pretty important to this, so I'll go ahead and mention them. You've got Kazuma, who is pretty much the big guy, who's sponsored and really, really a force to be reckoned with. But there's a lot of uncertainty shrouding him and his relatively serious attitude. You also have other players like Akuma, who is kind of an ass, and my personal favorite and the best waifu of 2014, Kong Wang. And each of these people have their own stories and exploration that go on and progress throughout the anime, and makes each one of them really likable and enjoyable for different reasons. It makes you keep watching and keep you interested in everyone. The soundtrack and the general sound direction for the show are phenomenal. The OST that plays at various points during each match and so on and so forth just goes so well, and the sound cues and just levels just seem to sync up perfectly with everything going on. Imagine the most creative way to convey personal confliction and thoughts about your life while you're playing ping pong and put them into the form of an anime. And that's pretty much what I get from this. This is also a show that does one of the few things I really look forward to in a show, and that is perfect pacing. I feel like every episode progresses at a really good speed, and for an 11-episode anime to pace itself so well and conclude is really impressive. Honestly, it may just be me, but I feel like Ping Pong does so many things right that it's really, really hard to not acknowledge what it accomplishes. It's a really, really refreshing anime. And honestly, I would love to see more with the creative push and interesting approach that this one takes. So if my praise wasn't enough to tell you what I would rate this anime, I give this one a solid 10 out of 10 for every reason I mentioned in this review. If you want to doubt it yourself, well, go ahead and watch it. You don't necessarily have to understand ping pong to get good. As a matter of fact, you don't have to necessarily understand many sports that are played in a show to enjoy the show itself. Especially when there's other things besides said sport making it worthwhile.